Hey, so welcome to a new video. We're going to do something slightly different today. I'm going to talk about my own personal journey over the last 10, 11, 12 years of publishing books on Amazon KDP. I'm going to talk about the hurdles that I've encountered and the changes that I've made to pivot from having a not so successful looking account to a much more successful account in the last few years. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Chris, and as you can see, I've been publishing on Amazon for quite a long time. And just to give you a rundown of the type of books that I've been publishing over this timeline, what happened here was I started in 2012 here publishing kind of ebooks. These were kind of romance novels and things like that. Then I slightly pivoted toward higher content books, things like cookbooks, etc., etc. And then during this period here, I really didn't do that much. I was still active on Amazon KDP publishing some books, but it was a massive struggle not seeing any sales during this period. And then toward 2019, what I got into then was the whole low content book scene. And then really until toward the end of 2021 did I actually start seeing significant success and significant growth when I completely pivoted the way that I approach publishing books. So if you're new to Amazon KDP, or if you're struggling with Amazon KDP, or if you're looking to increase the sales for your publishing business, then I think this is going to be the perfect video for you. One of the biggest realizations that I had for my publishing journey was that almost every book I uploaded was bad. So here's the kind of process that I was going through, and if you've ever seen a book like this before, you know that this is kind of the most generic looking book that could be possibly uploaded onto Amazon. And this is an actual book from my account, hence why the screenshot is looking a little bit blurry. But this would be the process that I would go through, is to find a niche with a decent BSR. So we all pretty much know how to do that. We go onto Amazon, we look for niches that have got decent BSRs. Then we go ahead, we create the book cover as fast as we can, and then we publish it onto Amazon, and we hope that we start seeing sales. So that was the process. That was the process for a lot of people, and it is still the process for a lot of people. So as we go through this video, I want to talk about the different types of books that I've published and the changes that I've made to pivot away from this kind of brainless pursuit that we can see on screen here. So before we get into that, this is the kind of changes that I've made from then to now. So this is a coloring book that I'm currently working on. It's a bold and easy mandala coloring book. You guys have seen these a million times on Amazon. This is not the final book cover, so don't even bother trying to copy this. Don't bother trying to get into the niche unless you pair it with some reality. So if I just get my pen out here again, here's what the process looks like now. We find a niche with a low BSR, and that's the easiest part of publishing these kind of medium content books. And then one of the biggest changes that I made was point number 2 here, was to create around 50 slight variants of the same book cover. So I'm going to take a look into my account and show you what this looks like now. So here's what I'm doing as I'm creating the book covers. Now, what you'll see that I'm doing here is taking the existing version of the book cover and making ever so slight changes to it. So this sounds like it might take an eternity to do, but really what I'm talking about here are things like changing the color palette, changing the font, changing the effect that's on the font, etc., etc., and then just making as many versions of this as I can until one of them stands out the most. So here's a tip, and this is something that I do for every new book that I release. And I do this because if I get onto the first page for any given niche, what I want to happen is that people gravitate, their eyes gravitate toward my book, and therefore the clicks gravitate toward my book. So what I do is I'll take a screenshot of the other books that are inside of my niche, the books that are doing well, and then I screenshot my other book designs onto it to see which ones stand out. So as you can see here, if we just scroll in, we're going to be able to see the different types of book covers that I've been testing. I take a look at this and I say which one is my eyes being drawn to the most, and then I go ahead and I use that as the book cover. So the goal here with this step is to stop producing the exact same things that everyone else is producing, because the reality is with these books, I've got tons of buyer traffic going to them, is that a lot of people are doing them. So it's always been my opinion that you have to do something better or different if you are going to get into these type of niches. So that's creating slight variations of the same book cover, and then we go ahead, we use logical keywords for the title and subtitle. So I put some emphasis onto this, not a huge amount. I'm a firm believer that Amazon will eventually find your target audience if people are clicking on your book enough and buying it enough. You'll then get spread out to other search terms. Okay, so I use logical keywords for title and subtitle. You can use your brain and Amazon's search bar for this. I think this is an area where people go absolutely crazy. They try and find the most perfect keywords. And I think this is more so a pursuit for higher content books, which we're going to talk about in just a second. And actually, this was one of the biggest issues that I had, was using niche research and keyword research software, was getting down this kind of rabbit hole of trying to find the most perfect keyword, when really, in my opinion, that doesn't necessarily make sense. So from there, we paired all of this with a strong launch to our book going live onto Amazon. So during the first 30 days, I tend to have a kind of budget that I work with. I launch my book onto Amazon, and then I test my book in the marketplace and say, hey, do you guys like this book? If no, we stop the project. If yes, we continue with the project, and then we try and push past the competitors by driving more advertising campaigns to this book. Okay, so this is a monitoring process here. When you launch your book, you want to monitor what you're doing with your advertising spend and take a look at a few different metrics to determine if you want to keep running this project or whether you want to stop the project or not. Okay, so once you've performed a kind of monitoring process, no matter the outcome, you need to move on to creating more books, because like I've said a million times, what a lot of people will do is that they'll get emotionally attached to just one book, spend infinite amounts of money seemingly on advertising campaigns, and then get demoralized when the book isn't selling organically. So it sounds like a lot, but it's really simple steps that we can take to massively increase our chances of making sales. So alongside of all this, we're talking about the finer things like building an email list. So you have a section at the back of your book that diverts people to a website, and I found that this is great for releasing new books. It gives you that boost in the algorithm during the first couple of weeks or so. And then alongside this, we're doing all the kind of businessy things where we're always testing out new designers, and this is specific to coloring books or medium content books, where we're hiring people to create the interiors for the books. Now I want to have a bigger team of designers so that I can always have more people working on more projects. So that means going over to Upwork, finding new talent, paying them $10 to $20 for a test page, for example, and then seeing if we want to work with them in the long run. Okay, so super important, so that you make sure this business becomes more hands-off for you. And as I've touched upon in pretty much all my recent videos, when it comes to these competitive niches, I'm trying to do something, anything to stand out in the niche in whatever way possible. So it could be the book cover, the angle that you're taking, the keywords that you're using, or the additional features that you have inside your book that your competitors don't. Okay, so and fourth, on this side of things, we're talking about linking all our books together. So author central, A+ content, pen name, etc., etc., all the obvious things. But this can of course increase the amount of sales that you make per customer. By this, what I'm talking about here is having that little A+ content thing at the bottom of your page, where you have one book and then you have like the other books underneath it that the customer can go ahead and buy as well. This works. I've seen it work. I've tested it. This is a great pursuit. Make sure that if you're building a brand, you're creating multiple books in the same niche, you want to make sure that you are using that A+ content module. These have been the biggest changes that I've made the most difference to my sales. Now this here is actually going to become a full-blown case study that I'm going to release into my membership. So if you are interested in fast tracking your publishing results, you can check out chrisraydog.com. You can join for free. There's going to be paid content as well, where we have weekly coaching calls. So every single week you can get my direct feedback on the path that you are taking. And inside the membership, we have all the course content that you could ever want as well. And we're adding course content such as the case studies, the Mandala case study, for example. It's all going to be added there. We have limited events and giveaways. There's a time that goes into this. I highly suggest that you check it out. It's going to be in the description below. It's chrisraydog.com. Go ahead and see what you think. So with that in mind, medium content books are the best for me. And now the reason that they're the best for me is not because of what the potential money that can be made from those type of books. I think the highest potential for making the most money possible are in higher content books. Now, the reason that I make coloring books or other medium content books is because I actually enjoy doing it. I'm not passionate about coloring books, but everything that I've just outlined in the last section, building the email list, communicating with the designers, doing the book covers and things like that, I enjoy doing it and it keeps me motivated. Now, what you're going to find a lot of people do is they hear about people like me having success with coloring books and then they want to jump on that, but it's not paired with any type of reality. So in my opinion, you do need to go into an area where you feel like you're going to be doing this for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months at least before getting, before changing the pursuit that you go for, right? So with that in mind, I want to talk about my experience publishing these different types of books, and it might help you make a decision when it comes to publishing these books as well. So what a lot of people don't know about me is that I have actually published higher content books. I've created 5 different high content books. Now, the niche research, and we're going to go and do a little bit on Amazon now, the niche research for higher content books took much longer. So what you want to do if you're doing a high content book is that we hone in on very specific keywords for niches that are underserved. So here's the thing, with doing like a coloring book or an activity book, most of the niches are super competitive. You're not really going to find those kind of hidden gems. So what we do is we accept that, we make the best book that we can, then we release it, and then we move on to the next book. Now, with higher content books, we are going to probably be spending more time and or money. So we have to take longer doing our niche research. So this is pretty much the process, and I can promise you this is all I do for these type of books. Come over to Amazon, search for something like activity book, just something that we're vaguely interested in publishing within. Then we just scroll down and then we find any kind of identifiable niche. So road trip, this is just doing this live. Road trip activity book, it's a sponsored listing, but it's the first one that I can see here. Okay, I'm kind of interested in this. Now we do our research specifically for road trip activity books. So that's going to look like road trip activity book. Let's go for kids 8 to 12. And that's going to bring back the results specific to road trip activity books for kids. Okay, so then we go ahead, we do our research from here. I don't take any notice of the search results. It's my opinion that most of these niches are saturated or will become saturated very soon, but there's still incredible opportunities here if you're doing something different or doing something better than the existing books on the first page. Okay, so that's pretty much the process that I go through for creating those medium content books. Now, when I was doing niche research for the higher content books, what I was looking at doing was trying to really hone in, like I say, on one specific keyword in niches where the audience is completely underserved. So I will give an example, and someone is definitely going to copy this, but I think for the sake of transparency, let's just take a look at what I've been looking at recently. So here's what I'll do is I'll come over to the book section and I'll type in independently published. And the reason that I do this is because I want to see independently published books that are making a mark, making a dent in these niches, these higher content niches. So that says to me that if I can produce a better book, then I have a chance of making sales as an independent publisher as well. So what I like to do is just go through the different sections here. So you can scroll through the first few pages and see what niches stand out, but we want to find like really identifiable niches. So for example, what we come down to is science and math, for example. And again, that's going to bring back the independently published books. Then we can scroll through and see what identifiable niches there are, okay? And then we literally just scroll through all of these, and you can go through the process of clicking on these and then scrolling through the different carousels here to find these kind of identifiable niches, okay? Which means you'll be able to find an identifiable keyword to get ranked for, okay? So I will just cut to it, and someone is definitely going to copy this without a doubt. But the book that I kind of ended up with after doing about 2 to 3 hours of niche research here was, I believe it was a black holes for kids book, okay? So what we're looking at here is trying to find books that have got a decent BSR, that are higher priced, that don't have many reviews, and have independent publishers. So for example, we have a couple here where the price points are a little bit higher, the BSRs they're decent, but for example, we can see this book doesn't have many reviews on it, and then we'd go ahead, we'd do our niche research from here. And like I say, already know someone's going to copy this. Do what you want with this information, and you can check the historic data to make sure this has been selling for a prolonged period. But that's the way that I would do higher content book research, because what you're going to find is that not many people are creating books for this keyword black holes book for kids. So you could come in and make something better book cover, better information inside, more advertising campaigns, price it competitively, and then go in and take some of those sales. So that's the difference between the research for my higher content and medium content books. I'm currently going to work on a lot more content for higher content books for the membership, so we have that to look forward to as well if you're interested in getting into that. So doing hardbacks, paperbacks, ebooks, and audiobooks. So the thing is with this, like I said, it takes a lot more time. And the first book that I created, I actually wrote this myself. It took me around 3 months for it to happen. But what I found is that there is still a failure percentage. I don't know many people who will have 100% success rate just because they're creating higher content books. But with this failure percentage, it probably means that you're going to be spending more time, more money is going to waste because of these failure percentages. But like I say, I think the income potential is slightly higher. And like I've also said, it's great for spreading your content out across ebook, paperback, hardback, and audio formats. So my recommendation here is don't do it unless you are prepared to research, create a better book. You're spending a lot of time finding those kind of hidden keywords where you can get ranked super easy and you're guaranteed almost to see some sales. But obviously that's going to take some time, and it's obviously going to take some money as well to create a better book than the competition. So that's going to lead me on to my experience with low content books. I had to make a ton of them to see more success. I had to make a ton. You probably saw from my account I got 500 books. Around 400 plus are these awful low content books that weren't making any sales. So the most success that I had, and this was a while ago, was from making low content books with kind of funny quotes on them. And I'll give you an example of that in just a second, because these were actually unique. So across anything we do, we don't just copy what other people are doing, we make something better or different. And this is the problem, is that there is a ton of competition with low content books, and it felt like a good way to get started. And inside of my membership, I do recommend beginners get started with low content books. Just use somewhere like Tangent Templates to be able to create some content. Just get used to creating book covers and hitting the publish button, understanding how to do your keyword and niche research, doing things like that. But for me, this got super boring, super tedious, because the amount of effort that I was putting in, it wasn't coming back to me in terms of income, so it didn't feel proportionate, right? So my recommendation here with low content books is be real with your income goals. Like, you should never listen to these huge income claims from low content books especially. But what I would also recommend that you do is check potential for high priced low content books as well. So you want to probably create less of those type of books that you can sell for over $10. The chance of you selling them will probably go down due to the price point, but I think it's a good pursuit. So I'm going to give you an example very quickly of some niche research for low content books. What I would look at doing, again, paired with reality, we're going to search for like we're just putting some keywords in, a funny quote book for retirement, just see what type of niches that it's going to bring back. So let's just go through and take a look if we can find any low content books here. So this type of book here, this is like a gag book, and I don't know if people should really do this anymore. Like I said, what you could do in this case is to take something like this, like the black and white layout here for this low content book, take the text, the quote, make something completely unique, and then put your version out there into the marketplace and see what people think of it. That's what I would do for low content book. Look at these kind of books that have got quotes on them. But again, I just feel like there's not as many opportunities as there used to be for this type of book. And now for me, these type of books, they fall into that kind of scammy, misleading, make money online type of pursuit, which I really dislike. But there is something here if you are looking to get started, that's for sure. But my overall thoughts after doing the whole KDP thing for a pretty long time, and failing admittedly for a very long time as well, is that you should treat KDP like a business. The great thing about KDP is that it can be your side hustle, it can be your hobby, or it could be your full-blown business that you can go ahead and sell in the future. But regardless of what you're doing, I would take this seriously. Give it some time. Every business takes time to get going and to make money from. And here's one thing that I found a lot of people are doing is holding on, having this emotional attachment to their advertising spend or singular books. You've got to look at, this is one of the best things I've ever done, is to look at it as a testing process. You will not, no matter what anyone says, you will not put a book out there and it be guaranteed to make you money back. No matter how good you think it is, no matter how good you think the niche is, no matter how much advertising spend you put into it. There are just some situations, and a lot of times this is going to happen, especially if you're new, is that you'll test the book in the marketplace won't respond to it, you move on to the next book, okay? So this emotional attachment, it holds a lot of people back and demoralizes a lot of people as well. Another thing, I fell down this rabbit hole of really, especially with the low content book stuff, was seeing how much money people were making, how many sales you could make from these really hot niches. And this is YouTube stuff. Like YouTube, it is what it is. It's my channel is guilty of this as well, obviously. But these type of claims, you need to take them with a pinch of salt, or a bucket of salt, or a truckload of salt, should we say in this case, especially channels that are dedicated to revealing hot niches. No such thing, right? There is such a thing, but why would you share it with people if they're that good, right? So another thing on the other side of the coin is to not believe the overly negative people. These are the type of people that hang around in forums and on YouTube comments, and they will swear blind that Amazon is dead, it's saturated. And the reality is, I've spoken to these type of people, and these people just don't have what it takes. That's the reality, is that some guys or girls will upload 3 or 4 different books, not see the sales that they were hoping to make, then get quit, and then resort to trying to bring everyone else down with them as well. That type of person does exist. You want to believe these type of claims. Either the reality for everything, in my opinion, will always just be in the middle. So the areas that I've really focused on have made so much difference to my success that people don't want to believe. People want to believe there's some secret, some hidden keyword strategy. There isn't. You want to focus on the niche, making sure that there's buyer traffic going to it. You want to make sure you have the best cover possible, whether you're outsourcing it or doing it yourself. Make sure that cover is as good as it can be. And then we take a look at advertising, okay? So for me, over the last decade of uploading books onto Amazon, there will always be these consistencies throughout. And that is, of course, making sure the niches have buyer traffic, having a great book cover, and then advertising your product to your audience. So I can completely appreciate that a lot of this is going to be the perspective of someone that's been doing it for a long time. And what I see as someone that's been doing this for 10, 11, 12 years is going to be different to what someone who is brand new to publishing can see. Which is why I've opened up the Raydog Seller Room. It's something that I feel extremely passionate about. We have people in the Discord who are seeing results from these strategies already. So if you're interested in that, that is chrisraydog.com. It comes with a ton of course content, weekly calls, direct feedback from me, private rooms, etc, etc. So that's in the description below. If you're interested in that, there's a free version of it as well. If you're on the fence, go ahead, check it out, see what you think. Anyway, that is it for this video. I'll see you very soon.